Here we had a great open house on Saturday. For those of you that were not here, um, we just had a lot of fun. Tony, you showed up with your little puppy, very cute puppy. I thank you for that. The things was to just introduce people to things. We did a couple of workshops that day too, one on the opioid epidemic and one on just basic chiropractic, but we also had a lot of fun out there. Julie had made fresh food, and she was, you know how like when you have a party and you go buy this stuff and it's pre-made and stuff, Julie would have nothing to do with that. She had to do it all herself, so she was like, I'm up till 2 a.m. I was like, great, but this is what we're about, okay? Because we want you guys to understand that we're very grateful for what we have here and what you and for being here and taking the time and efforts to be here. It's very important to understand that I ask of you to be open-minded when you come in. It's interesting because people who watch online, they go, oh, I don't watch the first few minutes because it's basically the same thing. Well, there's a reason for it, because I'm thankful. I'm grateful, and I need to let you guys know that. And being open-minded means that you take one piece of information and use it. A lot of people sometimes say, oh, it's very basic, or I know all this stuff. Yeah, people actually practice it. So there's a thing. So there's the knowledge that you get, but being reminded once in a while helps you to understand that, hey, something a little different, or actually incorporate it and do the stuff that we're talking about here. There's a lot of people out there. I can think of. Does anybody know of the story of Natasha Richardson? Natasha Richardson was Liam Neeson's wife, and she had the skiing accident. And and they brought her to the hospital. She goes, no, I'm good, I'm okay. And the next day she passed away. And a lot of times there are people around you in your life that say, oh, I feel great, I feel awesome. And then the next day they're not here, and you wonder yourself, what happened? Could it be a trauma? Yeah, it could be a trauma, but sometimes it's not even that. It's just something out of the blue that has happened. So it's important to live your life to the fullest every day. And what we try to do is give you tips so you can enjoy your life for the best every day. So having said that, it's important to understand that. We are going to be talking about sports nutrition tonight, okay? Really, honestly, we have to define what a sport is, okay? So is there anybody here that's actively engaged in playing or doing something competitive every week? I know you play disc golf. What do you do, Lauren? Taekwondo. Yeah, that's definitely. Go ahead. Volleyball. You're still playing volleyball? That's cool. You'll be playing hockey. Okay. So it's important to understand. So these are actual things that you commit yourself to do, and to become better, you have to do it again and again and again and again, right? So it's an important thing. But think about this. James, what do you do for a living, if you don't mind me asking? You don't have to share.
Heating and air conditioning.
Heating and right. Okay. So, and you said you were an addict today, okay? Okay, so let me ask you, do you think that's a sport? It is. It's like an endurance sport. You're up in a heated attic working physically with machines and ductwork and things of that nature. It's a sport. Okay, and you have to be prepared for that throughout the day, because the thing is, you have to understand what's going on. Okay, so whatever you are doing, as even sitting at a desk, okay, that's an endurance sport. Okay, I mean, it's like you're sitting, so think about your jobs and think about the things you do. It's not just like, oh, I go to my job and I do my job. There's something behind what you do, and you have to prepare for that on a daily basis, right? So who goes to work, and is exhausted at the end of the day? Right, okay. Who at the end of the day has energy and wants to go do stuff? Uh-huh. In your 20s, right? But the thing is, so that's another point that we have to look at, is that our nutritional needs change as we age. Okay, there are different things that go on and look at. So we are going to talk about sports nutrition, but we're going to compare it to life. So is there anything specific that anybody has any questions about nutrition specifically in the day of their life or doing sports? Anything specific? What can happen? Huh?
What's the best snack when it's 90 degrees out?
Best snack when it's 90 degrees out. Okay. At 90 degrees, and we're going to put Fahrenheit so people understand out there that it's not centigrade. Okay. So best snack at 90 degrees, that's a big one, especially now. When I used to run triathlons, and a lot of the sports nutritional stuff I learned from my triathlons. Okay, because that's like you're pushing yourself. I did 5 half tries, half irons, which is 70.3 miles, which finishes with a 13.1 mile run. Hey, Kristen. If you can hand her that to sign in, and then just grab a chair wherever you are, hon. There's chairs on this side. It's probably a little easier. So the thing is, I learned a lot about those things from running that, from the endurance. But during my training, there was strength components. There was components in the off season that you were doing to build strength as opposed to training for endurance. Because the thing is, there's different types of needs for different athletes. So you have to look. So for instance, hockey, taekwondo, volleyball, those are all very explosive sports. You're jumping off your legs, you're pushing up, you're pushing, taekwondo, you're kicking, there's a lot of explosive activity in that. So you need a lot of quick energy at that time, right? With something like what you do, it's a longer haul. So you need quick energy, but you also need endurance energy, something that's going to be prolonged in its release in your body. So this way it'll carry you through, right? So those are the big things that we're going to be talking a little bit about. Anything else? Any other questions or any other concerns or things that you have about this? Macronutrient split in a diet. Now that is the macronutrients. Okay, so this is much more detailed than this class is going to go on, and if you want to have a conversation about this, we can talk about it. So if you're just talking about carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, those types of there are other macronutrients that come into play. Usually when you are athletically inclined, you need a lot of quick burst energy, and carbohydrates is usually the largest thing that you use. But those are that's short-term energy. You also need the proteins, so we'll talk about the split on that. We actually have it up on the board in the back, but it's usually somewhere about a 60-20-20 split or 60-30-10 split. Okay, so meaning carbohydrate, protein, fats. Okay, so the thing is, so you have to look at that. The thing that people misinterpret about fats is there's good fats and bad fats. And if you look at and I was talking a little bit about this last week, if you look at the amount of energy that it takes to burn off a calorie of fat as opposed to a calorie of carbohydrate or protein, the fat takes 9 kilocalories as opposed to 4 kilocalories or 4 calories to burn it off. So you actually get 9 calories of energy from fat, okay, which is more. So it's prolonged, but it has to be the proper fats, like omega-3 fatty acids, things of that nature. So you have to be very, very careful. And it should be in a 1-to-1 ratio with omega-3 and omega-6. So omega-6 we get on a daily basis. Probably everything that we eat has omega-6s in it nowadays. Omega-3 we don't get a lot of. So that's usually fish oils, but it also comes from meats, gamey meats, like elk and bison and things of that nature. Thing that's out in the wild, okay, or those types of things. So why is it important? Why are we looking at? So I will go through some things. You'll see some stuff highlighted, and that's what I'll focus on when I bring up the chart. But in most aspects of like of a macronutrient split, you're looking at somewhere like a 60-20-20, somewhere in that range. But it depends on are you looking to build mass, or are you looking to cut down? Are you looking to and people will say, oh my God, that's too many carbohydrates. Okay, but you're burning them. Okay, when you do like with the triathlons, the quickest thing that I was looking at, I would take a goo pack. I hate those things. They taste horrible. But they would give me quick energy because there are 200 calories of quick burst of energy, and it's basically all carbohydrates. But you're burning it when you're doing this stuff. So a good snack for you, being out in the heat, okay, is one, you need something with a lot of fluid in it. Okay, it doesn't necessarily have to be water. Someone said water. You have Watermelon is actually really good because it's high in sugar, it's high in carbohydrates, and it's also gives you a lot of quick energy. Okay, and it also gives you the fluids. It gives you fluids that you need. You just have to make sure that diabetic-wise, things of that nature. Watermelon is a good snack out in a very hot temperate, but you can't always carry watermelon with you. Okay, so, so the other thing is you look at some of the powdered drinks that they have out there that are not processed. It's hard to find them, but things like I used to use. God, what was it called? I think it was called Scratch. I think it was called Scratch. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it was a powder that was all natural ingredients, and it would give me the energy that I needed and also the fluids that I needed. And that's the biggest thing. You have to hydrate yourself. But ultimately, if you're getting exhausted in the heat, it's what you ate before. You have to prime yourself. One of the biggest things I learned from the nutritional aspect of doing something like that, especially in the heat, was you have to make sure you're eating properly for weeks before you go out there. Otherwise, you're going to get out there and you're going to burn off all the energy and you're going to exhaust yourself. So that's the thing. So you can't just do it that day. It has to be something that's prolonged, so this way you can have good activity. So this is why I was talking about who's exhausted after work. How are you eating throughout the day? What are the foods you're at? Because that's an endurance thing. You're using your mind. When you use your mind, okay, it's an athletic event. Okay, it's an athletic event because it's burning a lot of sugar. I mean, this thing burns a lot of glucose. It burns a lot of that stuff. So you need to be able to make sure that you're applying throughout the day. Okay, because who has ever been out and done exercise or after exercise cramped? Okay, right? There's several of you, right? It happens to me more as I get older. It happens to me more as I get older. You can't just go take a supplement and get rid of it. That's not the case. You have to look at your diet, okay? Because if you're cramping, you have to look at what you're lacking in your diet, and that's what we're going to talk about. So, come on, did you turn on already? So we're going to go through the basics, but I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to go through the highlights of what's up there. You'll see certain lines in red, and if you have questions throughout, let me know. Good snacks in the heat also is something that has a lot of salt. Okay, some sort of salt. Magnesium is salt, calcium is a salt, but regular salt, like when you run endurance sports, you're always having salt tablets. I used to carry salt tablets with me to keep myself from cramping. Okay, but the thing is, you have to be aware of, like I used to take, and this, what I'm going to talk about is going to show you that you don't necessarily need to take the supplements, but you have to look at what it is that you're doing. So I found for me, so I wouldn't cramp later on, that I would have to take magnesium. I would take magnesium for like 2 or 3 days before. I would build it up so that when I did the race afterwards, I wouldn't have cramping. Okay, and magnesium is a good constituent, but you can get that from your food. Okay, it was just that I sweat a lot. I sweat a lot when I'm out there, so I get rid of a lot. So you have to replace the salt. So you need something that has some sort of electrolyte in it. Okay, so peanuts, almonds, things of that nature with salt on them. Even potato chips, believe it or not. I'm not a big fan of that, but a bag of potato chips and then you're downing a good electrolyte, healthy electrolyte drink is going to give you some energy, and it's also going to give you the ability to use your muscles the way you want to. Okay, so those are the types of things that you look at. So Interestingly enough, there is no scientific evidence to support the general use of vitamin and mineral supplements to improve athletic performance. There is a lot of studies out there, but there's really no actual scientific evidence because it's all either anecdotal or they've taken a group of people and they're looking for an answer for things. Now, I will get many responses on Facebook saying, yes, there is. There are studies out there that you can look at, but you have to read where they're coming from and what's going on. They don't build the performance. They just help you keep you from cramping or keep you. So if you consider that improvement in performance, yes, but they don't necessarily make you better. Does that make sense? They keep you where you are, but they don't make you better. Getting better is you repetitively doing whatever it is that it is. But it allows you to prolong things and keep more endurance. So in a sense, it can make you better. So it's really a catch-22 because you can exercise more, right? So one of the things that's important about this is there's a lot of people that really limit their intake of food and they want to lose weight. So they limit the intake of their food, but then they've increased their exercise. You really got to look at what you're putting out and what you're putting in. Okay? It's a net amount of calories. You can't eat 500 or 1,000 calories a day and then go work out and expect to stay healthy. It's just not possible. I used to burn 12,000 calories doing a race. And I used to maybe chew on like 1,000 or two, with the pills, with the supplements and stuff that I was taking and the drinks that I was doing, just keep my energy up. 12,000 calories. It's impossible. And if you're training, you've really got to get an idea of what you're burning while you're doing that stuff. So with the disc golf, there's a lot of walking up and down hills, right? Yeah, that's tough. That's not easy. People think it's easy. No, it ain't. Okay, but the thing is, so you're going to burn a lot of stuff doing that, and also you've got to take stuff. You've got to make sure that the food you're eating are helping with the joints and they're not inflammatory. So those are the big things. For hockey, same thing. It's an endurance sport, but with hockey, it's a very explosive sport. Okay, so you have to be ready instantaneously. So you've got to be careful of not drinking too much fluid because you'll get sloshy. So you have to take something very small to keep your energy up throughout, okay, or take it in small bites, and that's the big thing. So the thing is, you have to be willing to that. And I can guarantee with volleyball, if you drink too much, how do you feel when you go jump? Yeah, not good. And if you got kicked while you had too much fluid in your stomach, yeah, not good. So you need to balance those things, but you have to also find what's going to have a prolonged. So protein is usually a prolonged energy, but it has to be done with the proper diet throughout the week, throughout the years. Okay, a lot of people used to eat the high carbo load before the night before. That necessarily isn't the only way to go. Okay, so because the carbs get burnt very quickly. Okay, you need something that's going to sustain the activity. Okay, and proteins usually sustain the activity a little better. Honey is a quick energy burst. Yeah, honey is a quick energy burst because it's sugar. Okay, but the thing that's good about honey has B complex and B pollen and the vitamins in it. If you're eating pure raw honey, okay, and that actually helps to deal with stress. So that's a good thing. So that's not. Yeah, and that's the quick buildup. There are other things, and that's a good example of something that's natural that you can do. Okay, so that's something that you can do. Requirements, there are, they have the RDA and the ESADI, the daily dietary estimated safe and adequate dietary intake. These are standards. I have problems with these because these are really minimums of what you're supposed to have, bare minimums. If you're an athlete and you have as much stress as you have in your job, which is in itself as an athletic endeavor, these are never going to be enough. They're just not going to be enough because when you're under stress, what ends up happening is you burn off this stuff quicker. You burn off sugar quicker. You burn off everything is just fried quicker. So you need to make sure that the foods that you're snacking or having something throughout the day to give you that energy. Like the honey is a quick energy burst for a sporting event right there and then, but it's not something you really do during the day. But you could have, you could have a glass of tea with honey or something. Yeah, all day long. Although I used to do that with peanut butter, and that was like, after a while. And people are allergic to nuts too, so you have to be careful. Although almonds aren't as allergenic as peanuts. Some people, almonds are considered hypoallergenic, but you have to be careful because some people are still allergic to them. Any nuts, so what's going on? So these requirements are bare minimums. You have to really know what you're doing and analyze what you're doing beforehand. What are vitamins? Vitamins are essential organic compounds that function as regulators of protein, carbohydrate, and fat metabolism. So they help with that. So you have to be very, very careful because certain vitamins will make certain things go up, and certain vitamins will make certain and will deplete you. So you have to know the balance of the two, and that's where the science comes in. That's where they start talking about, the Gatorades and all this stuff and the science of Gatorade, and, they're doing the analysis and all that stuff. Yeah, great. They're doing the analysis, but it doesn't really show that that's improving their performance. What's happening is they're looking at what the person is depleted in, and you could actually add that into their diet, actually, rather than having to do it in the middle. But if you need quick energies, those are the things. But the thing is, you have to look at what you're doing around it first. Okay, because if you're not eating properly and you're expecting to take a vitamin or a supplement and help you, forget it. You might as well throw everything out the window. It doesn't make sense. In here, preliminary evidence suggests a potential indirect beneficial effect of supplementation with some of these vitamins on performance by reducing skeletal muscle damage and enhancing some aspects of the immune function. So this here is why they're saying your performance is better, because you don't have as much damage to your joints. You don't have as much damage to the things that are going on. So from that standpoint, yeah, you could look at it as it's helping performance, but again, you should be able to get it if you're eating proper foods. And that's the thing. A lot of the foods if it's in a box, it's processed, it's probably not good for you. You have to look at the things that you're eating. Minerals. Minerals are inorganic elements. Okay, so they're not organic. They don't intertwine with certain things, and act as cofactors for enzymes that influence aspects of energy metabolism. And we're going to go through really quickly about energy metabolism. And if you guys want to talk about that, I can do a whole workshop on that, just on the 3 slides that I have up there. I could probably talk about it for a whole semester of school, looking at that. Low dietary calcium may increase the risk of stress fractures. Everybody knows that, yes? Okay, and who's more at risk for low calcium? Huh? No, who's at more of a risk as they get older? Women. Okay, women are more of a risk because of menstrual cycles, hormones, all kinds of things that go into it. But guys are at risk for it too, because nowadays, caffeine just sucks calcium right out of you. So if you're drinking a lot of caffeine, stop. Okay, because it's really not good. It's a good energy burst. Okay, but it shouldn't be used all the time. Okay, and I like coffee, so I'm talking to myself as much as you. Additional calcium, preferably from food. Why am I talking so much about from natural foods? Because synthetic vitamins don't process in your body like whole foods do. Like the supplements that we use here are all derived from whole food supplements, but they're still processed. They're whole foods. They're still processed, but it's whole food stuff. So it processes in your body differently than a synthetic vitamin or a synthetic mineral. Okay, so understand that. Even people don't understand, they'll take 5,000 IUs of vitamin D, and this time of the year you don't really have to take vitamin D, but 5,000 IUs of vitamin D in a synthetic form, you may be lucky to get about 1,000 to 1,600 IUs of it actually being used. Okay, I mean, it's like 20 to 30% of it. The rest of it just goes out the window. Okay, so you have to make sure that it's being absorbed and it's being functionally used. One of the big things that we also look at is reduced body iron status may alter physical performance. Why? What does iron carry? Huh?
Rust.
Rust, yeah. Well, oxidation actually happens in our body. Okay, it can happen. But iron hooks to what specific cell in our body has iron in it? Red blood cells. What do the red blood cells carry? Hemoglobin. Oxygen. If you don't have enough oxygen in your blood, you're gonna have a problem. The problem is you have to be balanced. Like some of the Western European, like English, Scottish, that type of background, sometimes are prone to what we call hemochromatosis, which is too much red blood cells, and it clogs up things. So they actually bleed them to get rid of the extra blood cells. So you'd think, oh, they have a lot of red blood cells. That's good for oxygen. No, it's not. Okay, so there's a balance to it. But the thing is, decreased body iron stores may be attributed to low iron intake, or increased iron loss due to, for women, in menstruation, gastrointestinal bleeding, and sweating. And the biggest thing about all of this stuff, when you take it, has anybody ever gone on like started taking supplements and they feel really weird when they start taking them? Has that ever happened to anybody? You're nodding your head, right? Okay, you have, okay. It can really affect your intestinal system because your body's not used to doing that. That's why with food, it's a gradual. There's synergistic value to the food. It's not just the thing that's going on. So it's important to understand that. So there are processes that go on here, right? There's glycolysis, citric acid cycle, or the Krebs cycle, and the electron transport change. All of these create energy. ATP is adenosine triphosphate, which drives us, which is our energy factors. The place where it happens the most is in what we call the electron transport chain. The electron transport chain sits inside something called the mitochondria of the cell. Okay? Has anybody ever heard of the mitochondria? The mitochondria is where most of our energy comes. It's called the powerhouse of the cell and what drives us. And you need oxygen to be able to drive this stuff. So if you don't have oxygen to drive this stuff, you're not going to produce the ATP. A lot of the times people look at this, and like I said, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but if at some point you want to go through this stuff, I'm sort of a geek with this stuff. I like it, and I put it in there, and then I realize for most people that's like, what? You know, but ultimately you just have to understand that the metabolic pathway of glycolysis, which is the breakdown of sugar. Glycolysis, lysis means break, glycogen is the sugar, so basically it's separating the sugar particles, okay? It turns glucose into pyruvate, which then produces ATP. It goes through this cycle twice, and it's so inefficient that you get only 2 ATP out of the whole process going through it twice. Okay? We then go into the citric acid cycle, which a lot of people talk about. And what this happens, this produces 2 more ATP. Ooh, great, 2 ATP. This process produces 34. And if you look in here, you can see it's in the membrane. Think about this. This is a cell that you can't even see. Okay, this is something that you can't even see that this is happening, and it's adding all of this stuff into it. And in here, you know what this Q stands for? Coenzyme Q. Has anybody ever heard of coenzyme Q? You have, okay. Coenzyme Q is one of those supplements that if you have a heart problem, you should be taking. Because it also helps to build strength in those areas. It's just you're depleted in it when you start taking heart medications or things of that nature. So it's something that you have to look at. But from a standpoint of supplementation, you have to be very careful with this stuff, right? So foods, getting down to it. Minerals and B vitamins, beef, lean beef, okay? Wild beef, you know, things like I was saying earlier, things that I was talking to somebody earlier. Has anybody ever had elk steak? Oh my God, it is so good. I mean, it's better than beef. Bye, honey.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's okay. Thanks for coming. We're almost done anyway. But so the thing is, you're looking at things that are, you want to look at things that are, that have, these are the proteins, they're going to give you minerals, they're going to give you, the B vitamins that you need for stress. And you want to look at wild range stuff, you know, stuff that's not grown in a farm, like, you know, in a box. okay, because there's different hormones that are released when they're doing that. They're under stress when they do it farmed in a box. Okay, so if they're living free range, there's different hormones that go through it, and it's better for you. Okay, so those are the things that we look at. Water packed tuna, kidney beans, and yogurt. Okay, these are things that we look at that can have. Yogurt is a good thing to take with you too, out, believe it or not, when you're outside, if you can keep it cold.
I trust the watermelon more than the yogurt.
Okay, yeah. But if you can keep it cold, the yogurt's not really going to go bad. I mean, if you look at the way yogurt is processed, it's actually warm. Okay, you put it in. If my wife used to make yogurt all the time in the house. What you do is you take the culture, throw it into some milk or cream or whatever it was she used to put it in. I don't remember. And you actually used to stick it in the oven, not cook it, but the oven is warmer, so the bacteria grows. Okay, so it actually grows in that process. So those are things. But the watermelon would be a good thing. Go-gurt, not a good thing. It's sugar. But yogurt would be a good yogurt with fruit in it. Would be a bad idea because it has proteins and it has the minerals that you need. Vitamins A, C, and E: carrots, peanuts, broccoli, spinach, strawberries, berries. Berries are another great snack. Okay, berries are really, and they're in season almost constantly now. Okay, you get some sort of berries of some sort. Berries are a great thing. So these are high vitamin and mineral content foods that you should be eating on a daily basis, though. Because if you're eating this on a daily basis, you won't need as much when you're out there. Okay, because your body won't crave it as much. Okay, so the thing is, if you are physically active and you're increasing your playing activity, you should be eating more, okay, of this stuff on a daily basis, not just the day of. Okay, so that's the thing, and that's if I can't stress enough, sports nutrition is not about that day. Sports nutrition is about what you're doing over the long haul to get to where you want to do, and it took me 3 years to realize that doing triathlons. 3 years. I was like, I always ate fairly well, okay, but I didn't realize that I had to eat differently to understand what's going on. So we were talking about iron overload. We were talking about vitamin and mineral supplements. We were talking about what it can cause. Chronic ingestion of large doses of ascorbic acid, which is vitamin C, can produce physiological disturbances. Some examples include renal stone formation, okay, which is kidney stones. So high doses of vitamin C. Decreased coagulation time, which means that you can bleed more. Erythrocyte hemolysis, which means that it's breaking apart the red blood cells, and gastrointestinal disturbance. Recently suggested iron overload-induced cardiac deaths of 3 athletes may have been precipitated by megadose supplements of vitamin C. And you hear that all the time. I megadose on vitamin C quite a bit, okay? But I'm not in this genetic predisposition. And supplemental zinc, which was another big one, can cause secondary copper deficiency. You got to be careful. You got to be careful if you're going to start doing this stuff. So the biggest thing is, look back at the dietary foods here and make sure that you're eating this in proportion. Break it down into 3 plates, into three pieces on your plate. Make sure you have a third of some sort of dark leafy green. And if you have hematochromatosis, you can't eat these things. You have to find something else. The high red blood cell count in your body, you got to be careful. So you have to know about that. Strawberries, berries, carrots, break it into thirds. Take care, James. Tuna, water packed, kidney beans, and yogurt. Okay. So these are the things that you want to look at. The conclusion is performance will not be improved if individuals consuming nutritionally adequate diets use nutritional supplements. Meaning, if you have the proper nutrition, just because you're taking supplements, it's not going to increase your performance. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay. That's a misnomer. Okay. It will help with healing and recovery and things of that nature, but it's not going to necessarily increase your performance. Concerns about nutritional adequacy of an individual's diet should be evaluated by someone who knows what the hell they're doing. Excuse my language. Athletes should consume a diet that includes a variety of foods to optimize vitamin and mineral intakes rather than use nutritional supplements. If anything, I can say that's the biggest thing right there. Look at your diet first. Make sure you're eating the foods that are giving you the nutritional supplements and vitamins and minerals before you start adding crap in. Once you have your diet analyzed, then you could say, I need to add something. Because if you're deficient in something, you can look at it. And most of the time when I do nutritional evaluations in the office, and I work with a lot of people, nutritionally, along with a friend of mine. We look at their diets first. And then we say, okay, I'm not going to add all this stuff. You need to add this into your diet before we start adding the other stuff and see how your body responds. Sometimes you need a kickstart and you take supplements. I take, most of the foods that we eat are very, very depleted of vitamins and minerals. So you have to add some sort of multivitamin to get anywhere. But if you're eating fairly healthy and you're getting it from a good source, then you don't have to worry about it. But ultimately, in order to increase your level of being able to play, you have to look at your daily regimen. Because if you're drinking coffee all day, you're not eating breakfast, you're eating a poor lunch, saying, the lettuce and tomato on my sandwich is my vegetable, and then eating, and then chowing down at night, what's going to end up happening is you're never going to be at the peak levels of what you do. If you look at any athlete, they eat throughout the day very healthy. And then you have to look how many calories you're burning as the athlete that you are. Okay? Even throughout the day. That's why they have all these pedometers and everything now, because people are like, oh, yeah, I'm burning this many calories today. Okay, what are you doing to replenish it? That's why you cramp. That's why you do these things. So you have to look at it. Start with your diet first. Keep a diary for a week. If you guys are interested, I'll take a look at it with you and then say, hey, where do we got to go? All right? Are there any questions about anything?
We talked about cramping, and I think you're right. I think it gets worse as you get older.
Mm-hmm.
I've been noticing a lot in my calves and stuff as I hike.
Yes.
Summer, and I've been having a lot of cramping in my calves now.
Yep.
Are there whole foods, not supplements, that are?
There are, you have to look for foods, usually nuts and berries. Nuts specifically are high in like magnesium, calcium content. Those are the types of things you have.
Snack on that all the way.
Yeah, okay, and then you have to look at afterwards too. Because after you're done with, go ahead.
Bananas too. I used to get really bad leg cramps with
Bananas is the classic one. It doesn't always work, especially when you're younger. It always works, but as I got older,
You would have the bananas like the day before?
yes, I would look. Yeah, I would.
Morning of?
Yeah, I would look at, even with the nuts and stuff, I would start saying maybe, that night snack on some stuff. So this way in the morning you have some in the morning. Mix it in with some yogurt. Yogurt is usually a very good. Yeah, so if you mix it in with the yogurt and the nuts and the yogurt together, you'll give yourself a good thing. There's a couple of things online where you can actually make, you take 2 pieces of wax paper and you can make some healthy snacks with nuts and seeds and stuff like that. That's the type of thing that you might want to look at too, because you can make a paste, like a honey paste, and then you can put some nuts and granola and things in there that have all that stuff in it, and then you can use that as a snack. And what you do is you freeze it, and then you can cut it into bars and take it with you. So those are the things. I use Cataplex F, which is a supplement that we have here, and it has made an immense difference in my calves cramping. When I don't take it, it does cramp. And that's just me, because I don't eat a lot of bananas, but I do eat a lot of calcium and magnesium stuff, and but my calves still cramp just because I'm on my feet all day. And I've noticed it's gotten worse as I've gotten older. And when I run, that's my phone. That's my wife calling. So that means we're done. Thank you very much, guys. If there's any more questions, if you want me to take a look at nutritional, let me know.